Dear Diary, and hey, dear viewers, welcome to a very, very intimate space today. Usually, we're all about structured facts and objective analysis here. But today we are diving headfirst into something deeply personal that just had a massive head-on collision with science. I'm speaking to you simply as Lucrezia today. I actually dug out this cheap, old high school notebook to try and map out my brain right now because a book I just read completely shattered my entire existence. So grab a coffee, get comfortable. We're about to take a wild ride through my existential crisis.
But am I just a container? Literally, that is the exact question that paralyzed me in bed last night. I just finished reading The Naked Ape by zoologist Desmond Morris, and the most terrifying part of this book is its core theory, that human beings are essentially just hairless apes, acting as temporary genetic containers here on Earth. It's just such a massive ego-destroying revelation that it almost completely overshadows the giant romantic crisis I'm currently going through. Suddenly, my broken heart feels totally irrelevant because, biologically speaking, I might just be disposable packaging.
But before we spiral totally into existential dread, let's zoom out and get some context. I'm Lucrezia Orsini. I'm 25, a biology student at Sapienza University. My dad, Giuliano, is a cardiologist, my mom is Camilla, and my little sister Lavinia is still in high school. And yes, my actual university thesis is on the effects of German yogurt bacteria after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Hey, don't laugh. Those Bavarian bacteria are incredibly efficient. Yet, despite all my scientific pragmatism, I have a confession. For the last 5 weeks, I've been sobbing my eyes out watching reruns of that tragic romantic miniseries, The Thornbirds. I am a total emotional disaster right now, just a hopelessly romantic scientist. And that is exactly why I'm talking to you through this cheap spiral notebook instead of that fancy blue leather agenda my parents gifted me. You know Kavafis's famous poem, Ithaca? It uses Ithaca as this beautiful metaphor for life being a grueling yet deeply necessary journey toward an ultimate destination. Well, right now, a terrifying Category 5 hurricane has just slammed into my personal journey to Ithaca. I feel completely adrift. At 25, I honestly thought I was way too mature to keep a diary. But when the storm hits, you don't need a status symbol agenda. You just need a faithful confidant to help you survive the waves. So, what exactly was this massive storm? Well, I thought I was building this mature, constructive love with my boyfriend Adriano. I really thought it was forever. Instead, it was basically a buggy with broken wheels. We were going nowhere fast. Adriano, who has literally been parked in law school for 6 years, dumped me for a French girl who was practically underage. We spent 2 whole years dragging this relationship along, clinging to it out of pure habit. We were like geckos stuck to a wall. It wasn't a journey, it was just a meaningless, chaotic joyride. So right now, a huge part of me just wants to rebel against everything. To my parents, I am the family jewel. They have poured literally all their hopes and dreams into me. Now, it's not like I actually want a lawless pirate's life or to go off-grid as a nomad. I'm not a natural-born rebel. But the immense, suffocating pressure to be their absolute perfect daughter makes me want to drop out of university and abandon my whole life right before graduation. The weight of these expectations is literally crushing me. And so, my mind constantly drifts to my ultimate escape fantasy. Think about Australia for a second. It is this massive, boundless continent with only about 20 million people. Then look at Italy. Our tiny little boot is crammed with over 50 million people, not to mention all the territorial squatters. I just close my eyes and vividly dream of dropping everything and escaping to the wide open spaces of the southern hemisphere. Just give me the merino sheep, the koalas, the kangaroos, and the endless coral sea over this crowded, suffocating chaos any day. But my little daydream always crashes hard into crude biological reality. The absolute climax of this whole existential spiral hits with Desmond Morris's words. He argues that the true soul of a human isn't some mystical light. It's right there in our reproductive organs. He says the immortal elements of our being are the genes. We are disposable containers for a brief period. Reading that literally annihilated my ego. My ex just tossed me out like garbage, and now science is telling me that, yep, actually, I am just an empty, single-use container meant to temporarily carry genes before being thrown away. Awesome. And guys, it gets worse. Morris reminds us that we are, quite literally, just primates. Have you ever heard the story of Congo the chimp? Morris actually taught apes how to paint,
And Congo got so incredibly good at surrealist art that Salvador Dali himself bought one of his paintings. An actual chimpanzee has a piece of art hanging in a master's collection. It just proves how terrifyingly close we are to primitive beasts. Honestly, it makes me wonder, am I really some superior being or just a primitive animal? Because right now, a basic worker ant has way more direction and purpose in life than I do. And if we zoom out past my own broken heart, we see that our entire species is kind of a disaster. Just look at what our quote-unquote superior intelligence has achieved. We've got suffocating pollution, incurable viruses, monstrous genocides like the Tutsi massacre in Rwanda. We have brainwashed terrorists targeting innocent crowds, and these completely ignorant, corrupt politicians who only care about consumption. Looking at all this just fills me with absolute disgust for the cruelty and violence of the human race. So what is the logical conclusion for a 25-year-old with a broken heart who is totally disillusioned by biology? An intergalactic SOS, obviously. The great astrophysicist Margarita Hack suggested there are probably a million other inhabited planets out there. So I am putting out a desperate, slightly theatrical cry for help to the cosmos, to any aliens or entities in parallel universes. Please rescue me, take me away from this tiny third planet orbiting a yellow dwarf star, relocate me to a society that actually respects its environment, where people aren't violent, power-hungry tyrants.
Because down here on Earth, the delusion is just way too strong. From heroes to criminals, saints to mobsters, Giuseppe Garibaldi, Che Guevara, St. Francis, Al Capone. Do you know what they all have in common? They were all, quite simply, temporary containers. But humans absolutely refuse to accept this biological reality. Our corrupt politicians and historical figures walk around acting like indestructible Greek statues, totally convinced they live in this eternal timeline. They completely ignore the fact that they are just passing naked apes exactly like the rest of us.
Which brings us to the end of today's diary entry and a really profound realization I want to leave you with. The Latin poet Horace once told his beloved, "While we speak, envious time will have already fled. Seize the day, trusting as little as possible in tomorrow." If life is just this exhausting theatrical bluff, a giant cosmic joke played by our genes, and time is flying by, we have to stop agonizing over the future. We need to stop letting the weight of the world or a terrible breakup crush us. We are temporary, yes, but that means we just have to fiercely grab hold of the day we have right now. So, my fellow naked apes, what are you going to do today with your temporary container? Let's go find out.